Welcome back everyone to... Let me tell you about a little game called Mad Rat Dead, developed by Nipponichi Software and released in 2020 for the PS4 and Switch. If you've watched the channel at all, you're probably well familiar with NIS, and if not, welcome. I play and review a lot of NIS games here, and some other things. Yu Mizukami, who had previously worked on other beloved NIS titles like the Yomawari series, designed this one. And if you like rhythm games, platformers, or existential crises in any capacity, this is a game you have got to play. Or even if you don't like any of those things, just do it, just play this game, I'm begging you. This is one of those special NIS games that broke containment, so to speak, in that it got popular with much larger crowds than the usual fans of the company's work. In fact, besides their big flagship franchise Disgaea, and the other big strategy RPGs they're known for, Mad Rat Dead has been one of the most requested videos for me to do. Mad Rat Dead has got shooters. It's one of those games that just has its own cult following. Still pretty niche, but everyone who has played it says it watered their crops, cured every disease they ever had, and revived all of their ancestors. You know the kind of thing I'm talking about. Just high praise all across the board. And now, having finally played it for myself, that's not entirely accurate. It's even better than that. They left out the part where it literally filled my bank account with $7 ratillion. So what is Mad Rat Dead? In Mad Rat Dead, you play as a rat. His name is Mad Rat. He is dead. That's the game. As far as the story goes, our rat friend has been in captivity his whole life, experimented on by a human scientist, and has never seen the outside world. Mad Rat meets his untimely demise from a failed operation, and he's so bitter about living in captivity that his one sole wish is to get revenge by killing the human. And he gets his chance to. Upon dying, he meets the Rat God, who tells him that all rats get one chance to relive their final day so that they can fulfill whatever wish they want and get to die in peace. So Mad Rat vows to use that final day to exact his revenge. Rewinding 24 hours, Mad Rat tries to escape his enclosure and find the human. Along the way, he thinks he's going insane by hallucinating his own heart, but he befriends it anyway. Since Mad Rat has been trapped inside his entire life, he doesn't know what the outside world is like, and at this point he doesn't care. That makes it easy for him to laser focus on his one selfish goal, with no desire to experience what else life has to offer before he doesn't have life anymore. But throughout his adventures, the normally grumpy Mad Rat has experiences and feelings he's never had before. He goes outside, he touches grass, he meets people and gains new perspectives. It's a pretty short game, so I don't want to give away a whole bunch, but I think one of the reasons this game is so beloved is that you wouldn't think a game known for its out-of-the-box challenging gameplay, especially a rhythm game of all things, would have a deep story as well. And yet this one just gets you in all the right ways. Ultimately, Mad Rat decides that he wants to make his mark on the world, and there are many more ways to do that outside of the narrow-scoped life he's lived so far. And more importantly, it is never too late to do that, even for someone like Mad Rat, who is practically on death's door. Worse than that, he already entered the door and is living on borrowed time. And yet, he gets a taste of what it's like to live life to the fullest and care about things other than himself. That's ultimately what this game is about. It's about just living life, and that's a message that personally resonates with me a lot. He gets to make his own mark on the world in a way that satisfies him, even as a lonely little rat. This story gave me a lot to chew on after I rolled credits. For that alone, it has my highest praises. Also, I just want to point out the art. The art is fantastic. This is a gorgeous game, that is all. But story is far from the only unique and memorable thing this game has to offer. In fact, the gameplay is closely intertwined with the story. The power that the Rat God bestows onto Mad Rat lets him reverse time at will, and he also has the power of his heart. The music is the heart and soul of this game. Every stage's music perfectly captures the emotions of the story at that moment. Sometimes Mad Rat is roaming freely outside with not much to worry about, other times he's frantically beelining to stop something from happening, accompanied by string instruments that I'm surprised didn't catch on fire during the recording, sometimes he's getting attacked, sometimes he's facing the inevitability of his fate. The music of each stage just drives everything home so beautifully, and is one of the big reasons the soundtrack hits so hard. Aside from just, being insanely good music. If you know one thing about Mad Rat Dead, it is almost definitely its music. The soundtrack has been heavily praised far outside the realm of people who have actually played the game, and for very good reason. I mean, just look at how many views all these songs have on YouTube, despite this still being a pretty niche game. That's impressive. And that's because every track is just an absolute jam, revolving around jazzy, blues, and electro swing sounds. There's not just one composer responsible for all this. They brought on a whole bunch of notable musicians to create this soundtrack, essentially being one big collab project. Some of them are musicians who have done work for other NIS projects before, like Kazuya Takasu and Ei Hisa, the latter who's the composer for Process of Elimination, which you should totally go play, it's really underrated, I made a whole video about it. Also, all of Ei Hisa's songs are cheese puns, or just literally the name of a cheese, which is so stupid, and I love it. They got Camellia, who's known for their work in other rhythm games and Vocaloid songs, Dias Iwasaki, who's also worked a lot with Vocaloid, and they also got Yo Oyama, a composer that was basically created in a lab just to appeal to me specifically, since they've done work not only for a lot of NIS stuff, not only for a lot of Idea Factory stuff, but also some of the science adventure games. Syadv mentioned! Everyone go read Syadv, it's a lot more than just Steins Gate, you know. Mad Rat Dead is a hybrid between a rhythm game and a platformer. It is a platformer in that your goal is to run, jump, and stomp all the way to the finish line. It is a rhythm game in that every action you take, you must take to the beat. Listen, I knew it was going to be a good game when even the tutorial had me stumbling. This thing required me to rewire my entire brain in order to just function and do literally anything. It is not very intuitive at first, and that makes it really cool. You're not meant to hold buttons down. You press once at the right times. So every single input is a snappy move that takes you a significant distance. And they're predictable. You know exactly what's going to happen to this wet rat and where he will end up after each press so you can keep the momentum going. Circle is your dash button and the only effective way to move forward or backward. Holding the stick in the direction you dash will make it go a little farther. You can also cancel out of a dash by pulling the stick in the opposite direction. You can also dash in the air. X is your jump button. You can jump from the ground or off of walls for a wall jump. You also have a double jump, so you can jump once while you're already in the air. During your double jump, you'll automatically lock onto a nearby enemy. Pressing X again, so that's a third time now, will homing attack it. Attacking and wall jumping both refresh your air dash and double jump, allowing you to chain them together. But if you air dash after double jumping, you won't be in the middle of a double jump anymore, so the lock on for a homing attack just kinda doesn't exist. So it's always ideal after homing attacking to air dash first, then double jump, which is something you have to remember to do out of pure muscle memory a lot. Then there's square, which is your stomp button, snapping you back to the ground if you're in the air. Stomping in and of itself can also kill enemies. And finally, triangle is to charge yourself up. When you're charged, your next jump or dash will be more effective and take you farther. I honestly kind of forgot it existed for 99% of the game, even when getting all the S+ ranks. I couldn't even provide an example of a use case if I wanted to. But hey, I bet it has some crazy speedrun applications. Those are your 4 buttons to work with, and then aside from them, the left stick slowly moves you sideways, and doesn't count as an input for a beat. At the same time you're thinking about all of that for movement, you need to make sure each one complies with the almighty heart's beat. This little graphic at the bottom of your screen commands everything. You need to time each input according to this, with a standard timing rating applied to each one based on how close it was. The best is a great, and then there's early, late, and miss. Any input, no matter the rating, will use up a beat, which makes it disappear, which is dangerous, because an input too far away from a beat will result in a miss, and a miss is the only rating that doesn't register your input. Nothing will happen if you get a miss, so you have to be at least somewhat close to a beat to do anything. The beat is everything. You'd think that the timing required to avoid obstacles or do precision platforming would be in direct contrast with whatever timing the beat makes you do it in, but Mad Rat Dead adjusts accordingly. This game does not operate in real time, it operates according to the beat. And when I say beat here, I mean the next input on the beat map, not like in the strict musical sense. The game will literally slow down or speed up depending on when the next beat is coming in, so no matter when that is, Mad Rat will be in the same position no matter what. This is why all of your movements are simple and so easily predictable. When you dash, it's quick and you know roughly how far it's going to go. When you jump between walls, you know that by the next beat, no matter how long that takes, you will be on the other wall and in a prime position to keep wall jumping. Your double jump is very slow, hovering you in the air for quite a few beats. It doesn't matter how much real time goes by. If the beats are far apart, the game simply slows down to accommodate, and if the beats are close together, the game speeds up. This frees up the beat mapping to be able to change speeds on you without having to worry about being unfair. In fact, it just adds another layer of skill to the game. You have to keep a close eye out for different different beat spacing and adjust accordingly. Your actual inputs never have to change on account of the beat spacing, but the timing in which you input them absolutely does. Which just sounds like how a normal rhythm game should work, but remember, this is also a platformer, so this is their way of maintaining that spirit. Mad Rat Dead is a game you play out of the corner of your eye. One of the most challenging parts about this game is seemingly needing to pay attention to both the beat map to be on time, and the actual platforming so you know where to go and what to do next. That is very straining, and I think the stages are designed to accommodate that. One thing that really stood out to me was how plain the environments looked. The art itself is still gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the color schemes, stages generally stick to a narrow one, and don't deviate from it very much. The sewers are very blue, the lab is very tannish, yellowish, etc. And all the colors are a little bit muted. But in contrast, the actual obstacles and enemies that you need to look out for and work around are bright and vibrant, clashing with the rest of the environment and making them stand out. I think this was intentional to make it easier for you to put more focus on the beat map itself and work with your peripheral vision, and I really appreciate that. When I say everything is counted in beats, I mean it, because you're also timed in every stage, and you get a game over if you run out of time. But the timer isn't in seconds, you guessed it, it's in beats. And again, this is referring to the actual inputs on the beat map itself. You only have a certain amount of beats to use in a stage. In fact, it's really more of a score attack game than anything, because running out of time, which is normally never that much of an issue, is the only way to truly die and have to restart. Anything else that you'd expect to normally count as a fail state, like being damaged by an enemy or falling into a pit, simply lets you rewind time by any amount of beats you want up to a certain max. Those beats aren't given back to you on the timer, so dying, quote unquote, can still be detrimental if you're trying to get a high stage ranking because you're technically losing beats. You're ranked on every stage based on 3 categories: the amount of beats you have left on the timer at the end of the stage, your max combo during the stage, and the amount of great ratings you get. You hit so many beats in a stage anyway that last one is kind of just a non-issue. The other 2 are much more important. A combo is how many great inputs you hit in a row. You're totally free to skip beats entirely, by the way. If you don't input anything, the beat simply goes by, nothing happens, and your combo is fine. The timer still goes down though. It's just that when you do press a button, it must be a great or else your combo is broken. Each category is ranked on its own, then it gives you a total ranking based on those. The highest ranking in any given category is S. For those, you need 250 greats, at least 150 beats remaining at the end of the stage, and a 100 max combo. That last one is definitely the most difficult in most situations. The highest ranking you can get on a stage overall is an S+, which is only obtainable by getting an S in all 3 categories simultaneously. Anything less earns you an A. You may be wondering, because I certainly was, does that mean this game just skips the normal S rank? Can you not have an overall S ranking in a stage? Well, you actually can, because technically there is one other more subtle condition that must be filled for the S+, or else you will get an S. This condition is automatically fulfilled if you're playing the story, but that is not the only mode. May I direct your attention to the stage select. Here, you can play any stage at any time and go for different rankings. However, you don't have to use the song that normally plays in the story. You can actually play any stage with any song you want, including some extra ones in the soundtrack that don't even have their own stages in the story. Since time is counted in beats, not real seconds or minutes, and the game adjusts its speed according to the beats that go by, there is effectively zero difference in which song you use. The only change is the difficulty of the beat map itself. The way this relates to the stage rankings is that getting all S's for a song other than the default song will only give you an S rank instead of an S+. So for the S+, you must use the intended song for all stages. In the stage select, you can also change any of the songs to hard mode. That's right, if the game wasn't mind-melting enough, each song has a hard mode variant. The stage itself doesn't change, but the beat map of the song sure does. The beat map can get more varied and complex in the spacing between beats, but the main thing that hard mode does is introduce red notes. Red notes adds an extra layer to how you approach the game, because they require multiple button presses per action. A red note is comprised of more than one beat, most often 2, and only landing the input of every beat in the note will actually let you do the action you want to do. So you spend all this time getting used to one button press per action, and now suddenly you have to reconcile with the fact that pressing one button does not necessarily mean you're going to move. It requires a lot of concentration. For the purposes of timing, every red note counts as if it was one input, even though they are multiple inputs, so it can get real trippy. Rarely the beats in the red note are very close together, or you may encounter the ultra rare triple red note with 3 inputs. You can see your ranking on a stage separately for both normal mode and hard mode. For trophies, Mad Rat Dead does require you to get S+ ranks on every stage in normal and hard mode, which, as you can guess, is the challenge of platinuming this game. The simple process of getting an S+ rank, though, is not quite as challenging as it may sound. Once you can nail a 100-hit combo, which should be the first thing you should focus on in any stage, you just then need to get to the end in time and can basically play as sloppily as you want within the time restriction. Some of those hard mode stages will definitely test you though, especially the last few, and the final boss is just in an entire league of its own. One of the most infuriating, yet satisfying things I maybe have ever done in a video game. This game is awesome. There's also an evil trophy of clearing an entire stage with only 10 greats, at max, which is one of those trophies that seems unassuming at first until you realize how much of a chore it is to actually play like that. You need to intentionally make every input offbeat. It's super trippy and took me quite a few attempts. Mad Rat Dead is probably my favorite game that I played in 2025 all year, and it's one that I don't think anyone would regret playing. Once you get used to the playstyle, it is incredibly satisfying to pull off, and you'll be blitzing through stages like nobody's business, and also maybe crying your eyes out at the story, which may impede your ability to play, but don't worry about it. The hype around it is absolutely warranted. I had high expectations for this game, and in a lot of cases that makes you run the risk of a game being underwhelming when you finally do play it. But no, even then, I was still blown away by it. So the takeaway is, play Mad Rat Dead. Do it. Right now. If you're interested in more coverage of NIS games, that's like half of what I do on my channel, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. I've been Mags, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.